Okay, we're good to go. Welcome everyone. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Welcome everyone. My name is Hector Wessel. I'm the California director with Jobs to Move America. Today we're live in Los Angeles. We're live in Alabama, and we're joined by some amazing speakers online, virtually. But we're joining together today to announce an amazing partnership through a community benefits agreement between Jobs to Move America and New Flyer, as well as a major legal settlement that the LA Metro Board of Directors is going to vote on right after this event. We have an amazing lineup of speakers. Many of them are going to share a little bit more about the details and what this means for working people and communities in LA and in Alabama, and how this model can be a national standard for how communities, government, and companies work together to tackle racial injustice, economic injustice, and climate injustice nationwide. So before bringing up our speakers, I'm just going to share a little bit about Jobs to Move America for folks who may not be aware. Jobs to Move America is a national nonprofit organization. We're partnered with labor, environmental, civil rights, workforce, faith-based, and community-based organizations in cities across the country, all focused on one singular goal: using the massive amounts of money spent by government at all levels, whether it's building bridges or expanding transit or taking our kids to and from school on those yellow school buses, harnessing the power of all of that money to truly create opportunities for family-sustaining jobs, quality training programs, job guarantees, especially for women and single parents, youth and communities of color, systems impacted individuals, and veterans. We call it public goods for the most public good. It's on our logo. We do that through strategic research and organizing, building coalitions, working closely with decision makers and elected officials, some of whom you'll hear from later today. But most importantly, we do it with innovative and forward-thinking companies like New Flyer, who are partnering with us on a deep and sweeping set of initiatives through this historic community benefits agreement. This is why we're so excited to be here today. This is why we're all gathered for this. And I'm excited to introduce someone who's been leading the way for our organization, who's going to talk a little bit more about this historic agreement. And I'm not just saying that because we work together. By following her, I've learned how to lead others. I want to introduce Jobs to Move America's Executive Director and Founder, Madeline Janis. Please join me at the podium.
Thank you, Hector. I'm so excited to be here and be virtually with my colleagues in Alabama in particular. We've been working together across the country, which is something that has been so inspiring, that there's so much that brings us together, so much more that brings us together these days than keeps us apart. And this agreement, and this is in a moment of sadness across the country, is such a bright light to emphasize that. So as Hector mentioned, we're announcing today the signing of a community benefits agreement, a very historic agreement between New Flyer of America, which is a major bus manufacturer, the largest in North America, Jobs to Move America, and also Greater Birmingham Ministries. And we're going to hear from Scott Douglas, the executive director, who's also our board member. The community benefits agreement covers New Flyer's factories in Alabama and California. I really want to thank Mark Fisher, who's joining us today from New Flyer, and acknowledge him and New Flyer for your partnership. This community benefits agreement is the most far-reaching that I've ever been involved in, and I've been doing community benefits agreements for a long time. The CBA, as we refer to it, commits the parties to support hiring of at least 45% from historically marginalized groups, at least 20% of promotions from historically marginalized groups, robust training and pre-apprenticeship programs to really help work with the company to find highly skilled and trained people to be able to fill positions in the growing electric vehicle manufacturing industry. There's also a program, a very innovative program in partnership with the company to support and bring to New Flyer's attention concerns about discrimination in the factories and to have a process for dealing with those. There's environmental health and safety commitments and so much more. This community benefits agreement is part of the settlement of a lawsuit related to jobs commitments in a contract with LA Metro. I want to really thank our co-lead counsel, Paul Moore from McCracken, Stemmerman, and Holsbury, Rachel Jensen from Robbins, Geller, Redmond, and Dowd, who really had the foresight to see this as a win-win and not a typical approach to the outcome of litigation, where we actually come out of that working together as partners moving forward. So this settlement package is going to go to the board of directors of Metro for hopefully approval today. Now, as I mentioned, this agreement was the hard work of an incredibly unique coalition made up of labor, community, civil rights organizations that are here today in our Alabama, in Birmingham, Alabama. This was also due to the hard work and dedication of former New Flyer workers, and you're going to hear from one of them today, Craig Mosby. I want to thank him for his great ideas and thoughtfulness. Now, the reason this agreement needs to be approved by LA Metro is because the lawsuit that we are settling and moving on from came out of a contract with LA Metro, between LA Metro, that had something called a very innovative policy called the U.S. Employment Plan. That policy was created 10 years ago to maximize the benefits to communities and workers and companies of massive investment in infrastructure like buses. For this policy and the success of it and the innovative model that it presents for the country, I really want to thank the leadership of LA Metro. In particular, Metro Board Chair Supervisor Solis, who you're going to hear from today, Mayor Garcetti, who has been a stalwart supporter of this policy and the program since its inception, and CEO of Metro, who is just one of the most inspiring leaders I've ever had the opportunity to work with, and that's Stephanie Wiggins. So the last thing I want to say is as things like the bipartisan infrastructure law and other huge investments in infrastructure go forward, Metro's policies have really created a model that very much aligns with President Biden's vision, and hopefully to incentivize and support companies like New Flyer, who commit to U.S. factories, good jobs, and opportunities for all. So I'm excited that we're going to be hearing from a lot more people today, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Madeline. While other people were talking about building walls in Los Angeles, we were building bridges. That's not a quote from me. That's a quote from our next speaker. And when I first began at Jobs to Move America, he worked with our LA County Electric Bus and Truck Coalition to commit LA Metro to 100% zero emissions vehicles by 2030. And because of partnerships like this with New Flyer, all of those buses have a shot of being built entirely here in Southern California. Please give it up for LA Mayor Eric Garcetti.
Thank you to all the amazing people, both on the screen, a former Secretary of Labor and our chair, a current Deputy Secretary of Labor, our friends in Alabama, a state I love, and congratulations, sending a lot of California love to Alabama. The last trip I took in the United States before the pandemic was Alabama. It was one of the best trips of my life. So thank you all for the work that you have done, this incredible coalition behind me. And exactly as Madeline said, on a week that we need some hope, where we need some light, this certainly is that. And so let's drink from this well today of what is possible in America when we come together. You know, I was reading about the historic partnership on battery technology that manufacturers across America announced today to make sure that American batteries can be made here in this country. And it's not just the American innovation that always impresses me. It's not just the American hard work, but it's also what's reflected here today when we embrace American values together across business and labor and community. We know who we are. At a moment we feel so divided and people try to exploit so-called divisions between us, we know that we don't have to always be in conflict, that America is strongest and Americans are at their best when we figure out ways to build those bridges together. So thank you, Madeline, Erica, the entire team that is here today. Thank you, Julie Sue, Hilda Solis, Carl. Thank you for your great work with IUE, CWA, and our other labor partners here. And thank you to New Flyer. Mark my words, this is a moment which makes our goals that I know the chairwoman and I and the entire board, and I can't under our Brown Act say how everybody else is going to vote, but I'm going to be voting yes for this today. We know that we are pushing strong, bold goals forward to clean up our air, to create new jobs, to invest in our infrastructure. But we need the companies that are brave and courageous, like New Flyer is, and showing itself to be. Good paying jobs for folks who have not always found easy access to opportunity. That is a value of this agency, whether it's in folks that are doing construction who used to serve time or who didn't have homes, who today are helping to reduce traffic, clean up the air, and produce a stronger economy. Or here, knowing that what we procure, even if it comes sometimes from other states, also reflects California, Los Angeles, and metro values as well. This new contract means higher wages. It means training in metal, mechanical, and electrical work. It includes helping folks learn English as a second language. It means focused effort to grow and to nurture the next generation of factory leadership. And it means that good paying middle-class jobs stay in America. We build our city's transportation future, aligning with those values here. Here in a city, in a county where we raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, encourage the state to do the same, and we've reduced poverty by 27%. Here, where our community colleges are free, and we've boosted public school attendance by 40% because of that, and now they ride Metro for free. It's those sorts of things that we do, whether it's our Seed LA, which is Metro's transportation school that will start accepting students this fall. Many of them 9th through 12th graders who have experienced homelessness, housing insecurity, or come out of our foster care system. Again, these are reflections of what we do when we come together. So today we say we believe in the dignity of work. We believe in the coming together of all sides and a chance to share in our city's prosperity and to set a bar that I would say is now a challenge for every other agency out there. Come together and benefit from this. This is in the interest of a company and of its workers, of a community and a public transportation agency. And when we can pull that off, I think that's a great victory today. Does anybody need any Spanish, or no Spanish language? Then I will pass it back to our MC. Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really excited to introduce our next speaker. I need to say, Craig, in the amount of time that I've known you, I'm really grateful for your partnership on this work. I think through this, all of us have a lot to be proud of, but you especially have a lot to be proud of because you have 2 kids graduating both this month from college and high school.
Yes.
That's the type of family life and community life that these policies are about and these opportunities are about. So I'm going to pass the mic over to a former employee of New Flyer in Ontario, California, Craig Mosby.
Morning, everybody. I'm excited right now. I really am. I mean, this is big. I apologize. My name is Craig Mosby. I work for New Flyer of Ontario, California as an acceptance and delivery specialist from 2014 to 2017. I moved to California from Alabama seeking a better life for my children, you know, away from the bigotry and discrimination all too often found in the South. Well, I am here today to say I'm pleased with the commitment that Jobs to Move America, the Alabama Coalition for Community Benefits, and New Flyer have made. This community benefit agreement is huge, not just for the current workers of New Flyer, but for those like my children who deserve to have good jobs with working standards that support workers from disadvantaged communities. I speak to you today not only as a Black man, but a veteran and a single father. I know firsthand how difficult it can be to find jobs within our community that share the same values and qualities. This community benefits agreement will help ensure that all workers now and in the future, this is big, and in the future, have access to good job training and advancement opportunities. And for this, I tip my hat. This is beautiful.
Thank you, Craig. Really excited to introduce our next speaker. We're going to switch things up. Go to folks who are joining us online. Our next speaker has blazed the path for so many people. It began when she was fighting for environmental justice in her community. She took that fight to the California legislature and to Congress, and then on to represent workers all over this country as U.S. Secretary of Labor under President Barack Obama. She's nowhere near done. She's back in Los Angeles now. We're so lucky to have her. And she's continuing to lead right here in Los Angeles as chair of the LA Metro Board and as Los Angeles County First District Supervisor. Please join me in welcoming Supervisor Hilda Solis.
Thank you. Buenos dias. Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Madeline. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, New Flyer. Thank you to the workers and our friends in Alabama, and a special colleague, our Deputy Secretary of DOL, Julie Su. Thank you all for being here. What a huge, huge victory and win for all of us today. A day of celebration, not only for labor, but a win for all of our workers, for Metro, and for our economy, not just in California, but in good old Alabama. Because we know when people have good jobs, we all benefit. And that is what the settlement agreement between Metro, New Flyer, and Jobs to Move America represents today. It represents our commitment to creating good jobs for people that need them the most. Metro, as you know, is in the midst of delivering a capital program worth over $20 billion. Imagine that. We're spending over $20 billion in the next few years building infrastructure and creating good paying jobs in many different industries, as was noted by previous speakers. And as a chair of the board of Metro, it's my goal to direct as much of that funding as possible towards underserved communities with an equity lens. That means more contracts for small and disadvantaged businesses, more jobs for low-income communities of color, and that's how we make Metro better. And let me explain what better means. Bring equitable transportation to every resident. Say it, better.
Better.
We have launched a number of initiatives at Metro with that goal in mind, including an adoption of a U.S. employment policy plan. This settlement agreement is just one more example of how we're trying to do that by serving our community and our constituents in a better fashion. The settlement agreement includes a community benefits agreement that lays out a number of benefits, some of which you've already heard. But most notably, it will promote the hiring and promotion of individuals from historically underrepresented groups at New Flyer facilities, both here in California and in Alabama. Let this be our template as we move forward. Let this be our mini Build Back Better that we have already institutionalized here in the state and in Southern California. And I especially want to thank, Madeline for your work, and the entire Jobs to Move America team for all the work that you've done, and all the attorneys that gave of their time, and the workers. It means so much to us, to all of us. And I also want to thank our partners, New Flyer. Thank you for standing tall with us. We appreciate you. We know you're going to be a wonderful champion and model for the entire country. And of course, to Metro, I want to applaud our CEO, Stephanie Wiggins, who helped to bring us to the closing line here. With that, I'm also looking forward to our vote on this item. And I don't think it's a violation, but I can say I'm very supportive of this motion. So thank you again. Congratulations. Buena suerte a todos los trabajadores. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. You said it exactly best. Los Angeles and Alabama are leading the way today. But we mentioned earlier, we think this can be a national model. And our next speaker knows a little something about taking amazing wins in California to the national stage. I'm really excited to introduce Deputy Secretary of Labor. Please join me in welcoming Deputy Secretary Julie Su.
Thank you so much, Hector. Good morning. Buenos dias to everybody in attendance. And thank you, Craig, for sharing your story. It's really wonderful to be among so many longtime friends and colleagues, the visionary Madeline Janis and Erica Eheme, to Mayor Garcetti and Supervisor Solis, and to President Kennebrew, and to my new friends in Alabama. Hi to the Southern team. Today's announcement is exciting for a number of reasons, but most of all because it is the embodiment of the way place-based decision-making and labor management partnerships can drive economic prosperity for workers, the communities in which they live, as well as for business. As Mayor Garcetti said, it is a win-win-win. The creation of good quality middle-class jobs is a cornerstone of the Biden-Harris administration's agenda, as is equitable access to those jobs, especially for those left out of prosperity, even in good times, including Black workers, other workers of color, women, veterans, the formerly incarcerated, and more. It's why our Labor Secretary, Marty Walsh, launched the Good Jobs Initiative. Through our Good Jobs Initiative, we at the Department of Labor work to ensure that every penny of the historic $1.2 trillion in infrastructure investments through the bipartisan infrastructure law go to creating good jobs with high wages, strong labor protections, and pathways to those jobs for disadvantaged communities. We provide technical assistance and guidance to our sister federal agencies on how to leverage federal dollars to fulfill the president's promise of building an economy from the bottom up and the middle out. The Good Jobs Initiative is about delivering on that goal in everything we do. So what does that mean? It means working across the entire federal government so federal agencies build job quality into all of our grant making and contracting. It means not just minimum wages, but prevailing wages, paid leave, registered apprenticeship, and more. It means extolling the virtues of community benefits agreements like the one being announced today. The Biden-Harris administration is committed to implementing the historic infrastructure with integrity. Doing so requires that we deliver new roads and bridges that not only benefit those who use them, but also those who build them. It means ensuring that broadband brings not just high-speed, reliable internet to every community, but also the good jobs that are the bedrock of strong communities. It means electric vehicles and electric vehicle charging stations that make driving such vehicles convenient and reliable, and also good jobs in manufacturing and clean energy. The Biden-Harris administration is focused on ensuring a readily available, well-trained, and highly skilled workforce that taps into the full diversity and talent in communities where infrastructure dollars will actually be spent. And this requires on-the-ground partnerships where workers and employers collaborate to stand up training programs, including apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships, and to improve community outcomes. Community benefits agreements are a key component of that strategy. Community benefits agreements are not a new concept in California. We have examples spanning several decades. In fact, Madeline helped to negotiate the very first one. And so this agreement that's going to benefit workers in California will also benefit workers in Alabama. And that is so important because CBAs bring stronger labor protections also in corners of our country where they are desperately needed. This agreement embraces the leadership of Black workers, Southern workers, of businesses that operate in multiple parts of the country, and all of you whose well-being and ability to get good jobs, as Craig said, matters really deeply. For too long, we have accepted that an economy where some people get good jobs and others don't is just the natural way of things, as if it's inevitable, or where some people work and live in poverty. We can do better than that, as the supervisor has said, and we must do better than that. Today across America, we see workers demanding more from work, better pay, more security, a voice on the job, including a union. In short, a good job with purpose and opportunities for advancement. And the partnership announced today is going to help ensure that from Alabama to California, communities breathe clean air and enjoy the lasting benefits that come from economic security and dignity on the job. So on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration, and especially Secretary Walsh and all of us at the Department of Labor, thank you to everyone participating who got this done, to countless others who are not here today, but who helped get this agreement across the finish line.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary Sue. We're also joined by another manufacturing worker himself today, someone who began his career on the manufacturing line at a Chrysler plant in Dayton, Ohio. He's gone on to becoming the first ever African-American national president of an organization that represents over 40,000 manufacturing workers nationwide, IUECWA. And along the way, he's been able to put his passion for social justice and working people into practice by serving on multiple workforce development boards, library and community organizations. And of course, we're very honored to have him on our own Jobs to Move America's board of directors. Please welcome IUECWA President Carl Kennebrew.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and buenos dias. You know, this historic agreement lays the groundwork for a transformational partnership between New Flyer and its workers and their communities. New Flyer has shown that it understands that offering good jobs and a career path to a diverse workforce will make the company even stronger. Together, we are setting a new standard for the revitalization of manufacturing in North America. I want to say that again. Together, we are setting a new standard for the revitalization of manufacturing in North America. The community benefits agreement between JMA and New Flyer is truly transformational, and I'm proud to stand alongside JMA in their work to support good jobs and thriving communities. Thank you to everyone, and I'm blessed to be here today.
Thank you, President Kennebrew. Okay, I think we're ready to turn it over to some of our headliners across time zones and across several states. There's a group of organizations who have been working together as the Alabama Coalition for Community Benefits, and they're looking to transform worker and community conditions across the U.S. South. Of course, Jobs to Move America is a proud member, but we're joined by some of that movement's leaders with us today, and that includes Executive Director of Greater Birmingham Ministries, Scott Douglas III. Please take it away, sir.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, such an auspicious company. It reminds me that the roles that buses play in Alabama's history. In 1950, before Rosa Parks selling the bus in Montgomery, the Alabama legislature passed a constitutional amendment banning the use of gasoline taxes to pay for public transportation. Why did they do that? In Missouri and Kansas and other states, the integration of city buses has already begun. So they preempted the funding of public transportation just to stop this wave that was coming. But that was one bus. And she sat on the bus in Montgomery. There was other buses in the 60s, the Freedom Riders, who rode those buses to help free not the South, but the nation from all the constrictions of Jim Crow. And then, of course, there is the agreement we have today, where the people who manufacture the transportation of the future will have a decent opportunity to work with equity and fairness that is defined and clear and transparent. That is revolutionary in Alabama, especially transparency. So I feel a groundbreaking agreement has been reached. It's a first step in asking corporations, other corporations come to Alabama and other southern states to no longer treat our workers as second-class people, Black, brown, male, female, others, LGBTQ. And for the first time, there's a legally enforced agreement that will be on record agreeing to principles of worker fairness and community benefits, including definable goals in racial equity and ethnic hiring equality, training inclusion, access to supervisory tracks, and especially pre-apprenticeships. Why? To help end the pattern of no on-ramps for low-income and oppressed communities. This agreement is a milestone for working families in Alabama, but it's also a touchstone for other corporations coming to our state and benefiting from the labor of Alabama workers by putting things back in their families and in our communities. So we're really very grateful for this. It's a model for others to follow.
Hello, I'm Erica Iheme, Deputy Director with Jobs to Move America. I would like to now introduce Kathleen Kilpatrick, another community leader with the coalition from Hometown Action. Kathleen.
I'm so pleased to have been a part of this coalition, and Hometown Action is a statewide organization, grassroots organization here in Alabama. And to be here today with this coalition working all across the country, we're just so excited to be a part of this. As a sustainability professional, I really wanted to address the issues of a just transition. This is about workers. We have more in common between LA, California, Alabama, and throughout this country. To work for workers, and community benefits are such an important tool to achieve a just transition. We really laud New Flyer for not just manufacturing electric buses, but doing this in a way in coalition with workers, with members of the community, to make Alabama and our country a better place for all of our citizens and all of our workers. So we're looking forward to working with not just New Flyer, but as Scott so aptly said, other manufacturers, other companies, other developers in Alabama and throughout the South to achieve better communities throughout Alabama. We know at Hometown Action, where we focus on rural organizing, that so many rural workers are looking for new opportunities for economic development. And we see community benefits agreements as a framework, a structure, a path to achieving better communities and attracting the sorts of manufacturers that our workers and our local communities want to see. Thanks so much. And we're looking forward to working all together on this in the future.
All right, so I'm gonna take us home today, as we say in Alabama. I'm gonna take you home. I feel a little underdressed, not really. Alabama, stand up. So I'm now speaking on behalf of the Alabama Coalition for Community Benefits, which JMA is a partner of. And the coalition is really just a group of community organizations that's focused on human rights, civil rights, faith, labor, all of these groups that's working together that all believe that the Alabama worker could have a high quality of life. And that's all that our focus has been. And this moment today is just so historical and monumental because we now see that Alabama have an opportunity to have high quality jobs and have opportunities to be able to get these jobs and maintain these jobs. But ultimately, the community has spoke and New Flyer listened, and we are very grateful for that. I think, CBAs give us an opportunity to really design the type of quality jobs that's necessary for us to have healthy and sustainable communities. These are the jobs that people can retire off of. These are the jobs we'll be proud to have our children to take. These are the jobs that's going to hold generations after generations. We want to see companies like New Flyer that's willing to partner with us as a community, stand up and build the types of communities that we can all thrive in. And so with that being said, this agreement serves as a model around the South of what good jobs could really be. The narrative have for too long been, because it's Alabama, we get paid lower. Because it's Alabama, we could get treated poorly. Because of Alabama, we could get hurt on the job. It's normal because it's Alabama. Now we have an opportunity to show that because it's Alabama, we could have good jobs. Because it's Alabama, we could have a high quality of life. This is about sustaining this country and building relationships with employers who plan to have deep roots in our communities and be in partnership towards the future. Thank you, everyone that weighed in on this. I cannot even begin to name the people that helped make this happen, but to all of you, with so much gratitude, all that I could pull out of my soul, thank you. Thank you, New Flyer. Thank you to the Alabama Coalition for Community Benefits. Thank you to the Labor Department, the Biden administration, LA. I can't go on any further, but thank you from Alabama.
Thank you, Erica. Okay, we're going to attempt to try to get a couple of questions from folks who are live or folks who are online. Maybe we'll start here in case there are questions with press that's in the audience here while we queue up some questions from anyone who's online. No questions here. How about in the chat? Or do we have any questions from the chat? We might have done a good job explaining everything, and I appreciate that. If there aren't, congrats to everyone. This is going to conclude our press event, and onward. Have a great morning, everyone. Thank you.